Hello, I hope all is progressing well. Welcome to I Don't Know, We Can Talk About It, where we discuss myriads of topics civilly, reasonably, and responsibly. My name is Kevin Dufresne. Our first topic is about training conditions regarding heat. Though the article mentions particularly about what is happening in Georgia and the possibilities addressing temperature for sport, for training, wonderful. The portion of training that has to do with temperature is extremely important regarding other temperatures. When regarding how one's body may function through the cold, through the heat, these parameters do require necessary attention. Bringing to light facilities and how to address temperature for training is one parameter, though the article does not engage so much so into how training differentiates from live action. Being in the sport competitively in a situation where temperature becomes a factor is extremely important. So how might these areas of development regarding temperature be applicable when concerning a competitive environment, when individuals are meeting to compete, to resolve what a season may be, to resolve what a point of a season may be? So being able to address temperature is important, though how does that translate across different environments is another factor as well. What does one do with information about training that pertains to training in a particular temperature being beneficial, whereas that might be conflicting with how one might be training in a different environment with a team? Addressing these parameters are important because of how these parameters involve so much more than temperature. Engaging hydration is extremely important because hydration connects with nutrition. When discussing nourishment, athletes do need to regard how nourishment is with training, with competition, just as much as any individual has to. When an individual is going through training for a particular event or for a sport, one has to regard how the body functions and how bodies shift with needs as time progresses. So when individuals engage with activity, individuals will be mindful, more aware of what the body necessitates. Even more so, when an individual is engaging with training or competing, one must address how one is engaging as well. Now, ideally, a team will have expertise, individuals with know-how to support what is best for improving how one might be able to better engage with activity. Even so, an individual being self-aware may greatly bolster such efforts so as to ensure not only prevention of injury, though improvement of performance. Our next topic is about teaching civics in schools. What the article is addressing is how educators might be struggling to find what is allowable to say without facing repercussions that may be life-harming. Considering education is to be a safe ground for discussion, so long as the discussions are ensuring individuals are becoming more mindful, more aware individuals, respectful, in connection with the realms external education. One may argue life is education of itself. Even so, being in an educational environment will differ for everyone, especially regarding what educational environment one is able to grow through. Now, when considering how teaching might be, one might wonder, why might any entity be able to affect how a good teacher might be able to teach, especially if not teaching? These are very, very important parameters to address when concerning our minds with educational parameters. Educational parameters differ depending on the type of educational parameter it is. The educational environment will differ on the basis of many factors, many of which might be extremely irrelevant to what is actually important for education. The other aspect of educational parameters to consider is, what is an educational environment offering? What educational environment is offering educational parameters that are not just agreeable to oneself, though agreeable to the growth of the individuals engaging with the external world. Extant educational environments, extant educational parameters. Every educational environment will have different individuals that may be operating differently, which may prove well for the clients, the students that are growing through, so as to ensure these individuals are more mindful growing through the world, so as to not be in shock when entering into a different tier of education, a different educational environment, when engaging with the external world, so these individuals are able to move through the world noting, I have awareness that my educational history supports, or at least I have awareness that one point of my educational history supports, and I'm grateful. So individuals that might be going through traditional schooling might be going through a different experience through non-traditional schooling, and the reality is that there are many different forms of schools, and individuals will learn differently through different forms of schools. So when individuals have to engage with what is a civic conversation, if the political landscape is affecting how an educational environment is, the reality is one must double check what one is paying for. One must really engage with how one is voting monetarily with regard to one's education. There are many ways to educate and also credential. So individuals need not fear credentialing. The other area of educational parameters necessary to regard concerns the health of the clients, the students, the individuals that have to be the ends of all of the decision making, if not put in a position to make the decisions personally. Even if not in the position to make the decisions that are the step beyond personally, having the opportunity to make the personal decisions will greatly benefit that individual. And the reality is that's very strengthening for the individuals that are having to grow through these experiences where so much choice is available. Of course, these individuals are in control of life, ultimately, personally. Though, regard these individuals, these clients, these students, beyond the current state. Consider an individual that is making personal decisions to go to a particular college. The individual has full control, receives full support, good support, feels no qualms. Another individual has opportunities, though is not of the same personal preferential privilege. So what happens is these individuals have two experiences that are completely different. One is fully supported, whereas one might not feel fully supported. There are so many layers to engage with concerning personality, concerning the health of the individual, when one's trajectories in life are of one's own decision making. So of course, personality is a factor, though this does not negate the reality that an opportunity, if not a personal decision, may be in jeopardy, may prove challenging, may prove differently for an individual if the personal reality is not receiving the proper attention. When addressing what must happen through educational parameters, it is extremely important to be able to navigate what education is as a business and what education is as a support for future societies. The ideal is to focus on what education means for future societies, building, growing future societies well. Individuals that appreciate education will always find an educational institution to go to, will always find a way to learn. Of course, not all learning happens through educational institutions. Why? Because educational environments just don't offer all that an individual needs to grow. The reality is being why? Because each educational environment offers differently. And there are safety parameters to consider that actually are separate from the business side, that are affecting how individuals are able to operate. And what's interesting about these security situations is the intersecting happens as a part of, for some educational environments, bureaucratic processes. When I know bureaucratic processes, I mean individuals will, as many are familiar with seeing historically, set individuals, set clients in a position that makes literally no pedagogical sense to ensure that an opportunity, which is not necessarily an opportunity, though a chance to argue for a situation might seem more clear, more apparent, which is not the case. If an educational environment is not suitable enough to strengthen an individual to be effective in the world extant education, the educational environment is in a position to stunt, challenge how one is growing. Individuals need opportunities. Educational environments that offer the most opportunities, offering the most learning parameters, offering learning parameters sound with wonderful growth, addressing whole individuals, will be attending to what a whole individual may need to thrive as a wonderful person, wonderful human being, to benefit futures personally, though branching from one's being. If individuals are not able to address what civic parameters are or historical parameters are without feeling as though there is no way to grow, no way to communicate, well, these are situations that need addressing. When individuals are able to converse in forums, to be able to have civil conversations, to be able to understand that the world is not authoritarian direction, then individuals will be able to be more effective in the world extant education parameters. Otherwise, individuals are in delicate situations, and of course, an educational environment is not only of a school, of a college, university. An educational environment is just where one learns. So, engaging with the idea that one's life is education is extremely important, because there are pockets of learning environments of which one may grow through. All right, let's get into some origami. I'm starting here with a square sheet. So we're going to fold in the points on one side. So just make the points meet the points. Next, we're going to fold edge to edge the other side. Okay. So after we fold in these points here, we're going to bring ourselves to a base. This I like to call just the diamond base. You see here, I'm just going to press in the point to point, fold lines, and over here. Next, we're going to fold in each wing. Fold in each wing here. And this is a really, really nice form to a lot of different origami designs. So this is a great base to be familiar with, especially as one starts to get familiar with folding. You might want to design for themselves some unique folds. We're going to now open and fold. To make this fold easier, I suggest just folding the top part down, which is a good practice when coming from this base and having to fold over it to perform this fold here. So I'm just going to open up these wings here, and we're just going to bring it up here. See that? And you can see the folding is different here. And this, I'm pressing it in here, and then we have this folding in here, and voila. We'll bring this flap down now and do the same on the other side. Bring it up here, press down on that line from before, and this will help guide the fold that we're going to make here. Okay, brings it up. You can see this opening, and just adjusting it here. Voila, we'll bring it down. Now that we're here, we're going to fold in so the line down here matches the line going across. So we're gonna have a perpendicular fold. All right, we're gonna have a perpendicular fold just so that we can get this line here. All right, next we're going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm just gonna bring this line to just meet this other portion here. Okay, now that we're here, you'll see here, this fold, you'll see there are two lines here. All we're gonna do now is we're just gonna bring these lines up, just as so. And we're gonna do the same exact fold on each wing. So what I'll do now is, basically to make this somewhat easier, is just address the folding. To keep it in place, just press it lightly, and you can just hold that fold. We're gonna come up here again. We're just gonna be making these diagonal folds just so that we can get to the design portion here. Okay, and we'll just bring it up once we have the fold. Okay, and you see it makes the fold stand stronger. And this is going to be important for the next step. So again, just going to fold the middle line just to meet this edge. So we're really just aligning the lines perpendicularly. Center line. Okay. even that radial line, if one will. And then we're just gonna bring this fold in, bring it up as we move on to the next one. Okay. The next one obviously is on this side, it's the last one. Same idea, just bring it to meet. The line going across, and we'll fold it. All right. Now we have all of our folds here. So now all we're gonna do next, now that we have our folds here, as you can see it's here and we're here, all we're gonna do is we're just going to press these down. When you press these down, you'll notice there is a curvature that happens at the top. All right, so the other portion here is we're going to fold in. So now we're going to turn this over. We're going to just fold the flaps in to the center. Okay, just fold the flaps in to the center. All right. And as we fold here, we're gonna have this fold here. We're gonna return to this portion at the top. Now what we're gonna do is we're just gonna follow the twist. You can make a custom twist if you like, but just kind of twist in here. Okay, so twist in the center. What I'm doing here is just twisting in the center. Okay, and as you can see, I have a bit of a spiral. Now, from this spiral, I'm just going to bend each edge back. Find these little edges here in the corner to give it some roundness. And that's really what is going to be adding to the effect of this origami rose. So we're adding some roundness, and as you can see, if you want, you can even add more roundness to the folds here of the spirals. And voila, you have an origami rose. And of course, with the design of the sword, you can press it in a little bit more. You can just wear it how you please. The cool thing is they have little hooks here, so if you really want to wear it like a brooch, you just put it right there. And then voila, an origami rose brooch. I champion reading physical books. When one reads a physical book, the brain physically changes. So, long-term health benefits from reading a physical book. Science of spatial development around as long as humans, if not longer, living today. The text today is about Zen living. Though in regard to one's interior decorating, integrating the philosophies of Zen to how one is engaging with life. Note the addressing of interior decorating is actually my mind thinking of a different context, a different text which embraces engaging Zen through interior decorating. The text is quite wonderful. The portion of Zen, of which the text that I'm referring to today, though, is regarding how one may address a living Zen through the philosophies of Zen, though of a particular individual coming through Zen lessons, Zen experiences. Very peaceful, very calm to read. I like the book because I appreciate Zen. I appreciate how Zen is applicable in myriad ways. Hence the reason I begin with mentioning Zen with interior decorating, because The text that engages with Zen and interior decorating really does address the wonderfulness of Zen, though feng shui. So there are differences and there are balances that connect these differences. The idea of Zen is very grounding and very in tune with how one might engage with peace and calm and nature, and not only of an external nature, though of an interior nature, of the wonderfulness of being present, of engaging with what is important, by engaging with what is relevant to one's consistent now. And I really, really appreciate the text engaging lightly through these parameters. Of course, one must deliberate when one is reading context, though the ideas are worth one considering, even as one is self-culturing, creating how one is going to live, how one is living, how one is being through being. So I think Zen is wonderful to address, peaceful, it's calming, and adds a wonderful way to be mindful about one's presence in life personally, as well as one's presence in the ever-progressing universe. Live well, live mindfully. Thank you for joining. I don't know, we can talk about it. Onward and Upward, Kevin Dufresne.